Hi, everybody. I'm going to give it a few minutes and wait for everybody to join. But nice to see all of you. All right, well, I think let's get started. So hi everyone, welcome back. For those of you who have, done some workshops with me before, I'm going to spend like 30 minutes sort of powering out information and sort of giving you my experience. And then I really want you guys to have your questions ready. And as they're happening, you guys can pop into the chat. Josh, what are you doing here? You trying to get some tips? Anyway, I'm going to do a Q&A after that. So you guys can ask like very specific questions tailored to your own businesses. And I'll try to do my best to get to all of them. But today we're going to talk a little bit about how we can collaborate and work with just not other realtors in our industry, but different brands and influencers in the social media space. So I love collaborating. It's always been a big part of my social media experience as a real estate agent, and I've had a lot of success with it. I've collaborated on things that are only authentic to myself. As most of you guys know, I've talked about that before. I think that's the only way to really collaborate in a space that actually functions for your brand. And I think it's a really key point in being successful, at least in the social media space. And what I mean by successful is you're actually getting leads from it and you're actually getting business from it. Because if it's not translating to business and it's just translating to followers, that might help you land a listing down the road because you can say I have more exposure than my competitor. But ultimately, we want to be making money off these people. We want people to be engaging with us in the direct messages and asking us to list their house. I just got back from a listing opportunity today for $9.5 million that came into my DMs yesterday. So I want you guys to have those same opportunities. And while you might not have as much of a following on social media, you can build that, and you can build that in a relatively short period of time. You just have to be consistent, you have to be thoughtful, and you have to make sure that you are giving yourself the time and energy to build and create those relationships with different avenues, like different influencers that align with your brand, or different realtors, whether they're in another market or whether they're in your market and have like-minded listings. So I want to kind of start with why collaboration is key in what we do in our industry. And I think it provides an opportunity for you guys to expand your reach doing all of these three things. It's different realtors, different brands, and different influencers. Those are the three key elements, in my opinion. And this can help you create credibility. As I've mentioned, it can generate new leads for you, which, believe it or not, it can also open the door to different partnerships that could be paid in your lane. But all three things are important to sort of monetizing what social media can do for you. And I think the win-win for collaborating is everybody gets to be a part of it, not just you taking home the win, but perhaps a realtor in your market that has similar luxury properties for sale, a realtor in another market where you might have a buyer profile coming, or, obviously your brand, being a brand ambassador for different brands, or aligning with an influencer who you organically like. And I think when you are working with like-minded professionals, it becomes a win for them as well as you. You guys are able to cross-promote each other's stuff, and with that becomes more of a following for them and a following that you might have not been able to tap into for you, and that's how you really win. So first and foremost, I'll start with a collaboration with other realtors. I've always said this. I think one of the things that a lot of real estate agents do not do is focus on their own network of agents that they collaborate with. Whether you're showing their listings, whether you have personal relationships with them, these are very important people to create success and align yourself with, because they're doing the same kind of business there that you're doing, or you want to bring business from their market to yours and vice versa. So I think what's important is identifying agents in your community and outside of your community that are like-minded. They're either selling at the same level that you're selling, your brands align from a luxury standpoint, or perhaps, for example, you work in the high-rise world and you are doing a lot of new development and condos. You probably want to align yourself with a competitor that you respect in your own market that might have a reach to a different network of buyer. Or you might want to reach out, for example, when I listed the Edition residences in West Hollywood, I made sure that I tapped people both internationally, the agents that I knew in different markets, and in the Saudi markets, in the Asian markets. I also reached out to agents in New York, Miami, Aspen, and I had them promoting our property and becoming an ambassador for those properties, and allowed them to post those properties. And that created immediate direct business for me, which of course I cut them in on. If I wasn't able to tap that buyer that's in the South Florida market to come and buy a property from me in West Hollywood, I effectively now can, because I created a solid relationship that was organic to me in those markets with a realtor that I respect, and obviously was selling at the level that I was selling, and their brand was on par with my brand. I don't know about the competition piece. We're all very competitive. We all do, a lot of business. We have people that we might love to work with. We have people that we might not like to work with. But I think it's imperative when you are selling to create those relationships and do your best to keep them above board. Be respectful, be kind, be thoughtful, show up to their open houses, reach out to them, share your off markets or your coming soons, because those are the type of people that are going to show up for you. Those are the type of people that are going to want to work with you and bring a buyer to one of your listings, and vice versa. So, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Don't just pay attention to the relationships you have with your clients. Pay attention to those agents and different affiliate business opportunities that you might have with lenders or financial advisors or real estate attorneys or business managers. Ask who they're working with. Obviously, if you have those relationships, you should be saying, who else do you love? I know that you work with me, but who else do you love in the space that you respect, that you think is like-minded? Because I'd love to get to know them a little bit better. And you'll find that more often than not, these affiliate, industries are going to be like, oh, I love working with Josh Flagg. I've done 3 or 4 deals with him. He's fabulous. I know he sells in Beverly Hills as well. You two would hit it off, and I'd be like, I already love him and know him. And but you get my point. So I think it's really important that you guys pay a lot of attention to that, because you should be following your competitors. And I don't mean competitors with a negative connotation. You should be commenting on their social media posts. You should be direct messaging them. You should be sharing your off markets with them, all in the realm of social media. Because by creating that dialogue and commenting on their posts and direct messaging them, Instagram is going to start to figure out those are the types of people that you want to be with, and they're going to send you more of those people. And those are the people that you're going to want to be working on any sort of collaboration with online. And you can obviously bring this to the table for your clients and say, my God, in a listing appointment, you happen to know that you're competing against someone that you obviously already have a relationship with. That gives you the opportunity to say, I really respect John Doe. He's been working at the level that I've been working for a long time. What I like about my relationship with John is that if you hire me, what I can assure you is that I will collaborate with John on some social media marketing and let him share our listing with his network of clients. And they're going to be like, wow, that's creative thinking, and it's not competitive, it's collaborative. And I think our clients want to hear the word collaboration more. So it's just something for you guys to really tap into and think about, because oftentimes we want to shut out the other brokers, or perhaps not respond to them on certain posts or get back to them. You should be calling them, texting them, celebrating their successes on social media and engaging them online all the time, so that you can create the conversation around collaborating on certain properties. As long as you're getting credit as the listing agent for their property, there is no reason why you can't be collaborating and attracting more attention to your listing. It is only self-serving when you are not allowing these types of collaborations to happen. It certainly doesn't serve your clients, right? So, be mindful of that and make sure that you guys are out there working on that piece. Number two, so that's real estate agents. Number two, partnering with brands. Some of you are in the luxury space. Some of you want to break into the luxury space. Some of you are in a different space altogether. But partnering with brands can be very effective, because those brands have reach that are going to organically speak to the audience for a particular listing you have. So it can elevate not just your image, but the brand's image as well, so long as you guys are aligned in the collaboration and what your effective goal is. So you might want to talk about particular images. For example, I've collaborated with different hotel brands, because hotels are beautiful. Luxury hotels and resorts that have even a residential component are incredible. I've been an ambassador for several of them because A, I organically like to travel to nice places. B, from a luxury real estate standpoint, I'm aligning myself with a brand like the Aman or Four Seasons or the Royal Atlantis in Dubai. And those audiences for those particular hotel brands resonate obviously with luxury real estate. So that's just one example of some of the collaborations that I've done. And, listen, you're not going to land an ambassadorship with the Aman out of the gates, but even something as small as, a really cool sheet line, or for example, I partnered with Hastings mattresses and did a collab with them for this year for 12 months, where I'm, they're giving me a mattress, and I am, is valued at like $85,000. Bananas, I know. But they gave me this mattress, and I agreed to post content for them and speak organically about how much I love the mattress. And I love the mattress. Let's call a spade a spade. So these are just a couple of like the different areas where you can be thinking about. Again, it should speak to who you are. If you are working in a different space as far as luxury versus, maybe under $500,000 a year, find the things that your clients are looking for, the things that they want in a home. It can be as simple as a design element, Kohler kitchen, bathroom, fixtures, outdoor furniture, you name it. There are so many areas for us to tap into as it relates to real estate. And then you have this opportunity to do co-branded social media campaigns where you can potentially collab online, or you can have a contract with them to post their brand in your listing or the home or the new development that you have, and they can bring that in for free. Your client thinks you're their hero because you brought in this incredible opportunity for a collaboration with a brand that elevates their home and therefore the listing. But it also gives you more opportunity to create interesting campaigns on social media that aren't just your typical carousel slideshow of pictures of properties. And that's what people really resonate with. They want to not just see houses anymore. You know, gone is the day of print media, right? But now we're at the place where it's even like a step further. Just posting your house on social media that you just listed is not going to get the same amount of likes it did 5 years ago. No one cares. So you have to be creative and you have to be thoughtful. And you have to do different types of video campaigns now, and AI can assist with that. But you're going to want to do perhaps a virtual tour that references the mattress and the bedding on this particular bed. There are so many brands that are looking to build awareness in their own brand, that you know, a new sheet line, a new towel line, a new rug line, whatever it is. You see it all the time. A perfect example of that is Ruggable. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the brand or not, but they are collabing with a new influencer at some level at every turn, and not all of them are designers, you would think, you know, but you know, you've got Kathy Hilton doing a Ruggable design and a collab with them, and she's you know, tapping into that. There are opportunities for you to do the same thing. So what I've also found that has been incredibly successful in terms of my listing appointments is those brands that I have collabed with, I will share with the client in my listing pitch. So, you know, I'll say, look, I can bring in staging at a fraction of the cost because I can partner with this bedding company that will do a much more elevated bedding on the 10 bedrooms that you have to stage, which is a cost to you. I can cut your cost by 25% by bringing in all the mattresses and all the bedding for this staging process. And they're like, oh, wow, look at you going out of your way. And you're saying, actually, it's not that I'm just going out of my way and delivering you a potential product in your listing that will cut your cost, but it also allows me to tap into advertising your home in a collaboration with this line, which means we're going to bring people and eyes to your property that are outside of my network and are, you know, major following and a devoted following of this particular sheet line. So they're going to get to see your home by virtue of us just partnering with them. And then, of course, you have sponsored content opportunities. There's a lot of brands that are willing to just sponsor altogether if it aligns with their audience. And again, as you're building your social media presence, which obviously takes time and is important, they will feature that product in your house. You know, not everybody's going to be able to jump out of the gates and get Sephora, you know, a really high-end linen to be able to provide linens for their bed. But I picked up the phone literally last Thursday because my bedding is starting to get a little tattered and I needed a new duvet and a few pillowcases. I picked up the phone. I called the chief marketing officer of Sephora and I said, I bought all my sheets from you. I know you gave me a discount on them last time. I am often asked, because I've posted my home quite frequently, what bedding I use. And I really think it would be fun to do a collab with you on this. And potentially down the road, if we get the traction that we're hoping for, I'd love to see it in some of my higher end listings. And he was blown away, loved the idea, is all about doing this more organic influencer marketing rather than paying like an exorbitant fee to pay a big actress to sponsor it. These are all ways to tap into a community with micro influencers like myself that can help them get, by a simple post, 50 purchases without spending a lot of money from a marketing standpoint for them. It doesn't cost them anything other than product. So, and at that point, you can take it a step further and say, how much do we want to delve into from a digital ad perspective? and you can split the cost of that with the company, or you can take that on yourself depending on how important it is to you. So that kind of touches on the brand piece. And part 3 is working with influencers and content creators. I'm sure, because you guys are on this, that many of you are on social media, and that's the reason you're here talking about this workshop in the first place. And so you follow certain people, and certain content creators are more fascinating to you than others. I encourage you again to dive into that more. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it as well, I'll scroll through things at night and like watch it, and I'll forget to like it and comment. I'll watch it 4 times. If I think it's funny, or I think it's like gorgeous, or whatever it is, I'll watch that reel like 2 or 3 times, and then I'll forget to like it and comment and send them a message, which isn't helpful in terms of engagement for you. So make sure that you are thinking about that, particularly with the people that you follow and love the most, but start thinking outside of what you might do when you're bored and don't want to deal with real estate anymore that night, and start thinking about, who can I follow that's inspiring, that is somehow related to our industry? Is it interior designers? Is it an architect? Is it a contractor? Is it a developer? Who are these people? Why are you following with them? And how do you engage them in a way that is not only attractive to the algorithm, but attractive to the influencer themselves? The key is to get them to follow you back, or at least engage in a dialogue to where I can't tell you how many people I am in direct messages with that, by virtue of me just reaching out and consistently commenting on their stuff because I organically love them. Caroline Baudino is one of them. She's a major influencer that is kind of shot out of the gates and, garnered a huge following in the last 12 months in the fashion space. I love her because she's super fucking stylish, but she does it for like ridiculously affordable, prices, and is making a killing in the Amazon space and several different. I've been commenting organically with her and like sharing DMs back and forth for the better part of the last 14 months. We have now feel like we know each other. And, she asked me to do her podcast. I ran into her last week, and it was like we were best friends because we follow each other's lives on social media so much. I'd like literally wrap my arms around this woman. I've never even met her. And we're going out to drinks with her next week, and hopefully going to collab in some sort of facet between the real estate and fashion space. We're not sure what that's going to look like yet, but that is purely from me engaging with her from a completely organic space. So there's different ways to do this. You can do cross promotion, you can do social media takeovers, you can go on Instagram live with them, you can collaborate on reels. It's what I think like might work with Caroline, for example, is to have her come dressed to the nines in the way that she does things, and maybe do a virtual tour of one of our properties. And what might be interesting, and I'm just shooting off the cuff here, I obviously have to talk to her about it, but it's coming to me as we're sitting here, is because she is so involved in sort of the fashion space, she obviously has great taste, which means she has the ability to walk into a home and see what it could be. So perhaps we do something where she can do like an Amazon home section where she can kind of create a space, through our collaboration, walking through one of my listings, and be able to create this home that is currently empty and turn it into a $5,000 investment for the whole first floor, all from Amazon. That speaks to her audience in a major way because it's affordable living that's glamorous and luxurious, but for a great price. And it also takes people that follow her, like myself, who are in the luxury space, and they'll be able to say, God, that house is a little bit beyond my price point. How am I going to afford to even furnish it? It's 5,000 square feet. That's like too much money. It's out of my budget. I'm not going to go. To making it accessible I can do this. I can make it look stylish like Caroline does, and I can go and buy this house. That is like I don't know. I mean, I know I'm shooting off the cuff, but I think it's a pretty good idea. So that's something I will talk to her about. Also, with the influencer and content creator space, you guys can collaborate on Reels, TikToks, live events. You guys can create short form content with influencers that are getting introduced to your listings by them. That's a way for them. I mean, people run out of content every day. So, you know, getting creative and aligning in that way is a great way for them to create new and interesting content. And for someone like Caroline, for example, who's very much in the fashion space, the next thing for her could be in the home sector. And it makes sense to me because she's stylish, because she can do things and be stylish with the affordability piece in play. It completely leans in to that audience. So I think doing a TikTok with her and doing multiple, you know, maybe you set it up that you decide, let's do 3. Let's, you know, pick our favorite and post that first. Let's see how it does. And then maybe we can speed up the next one or make the appropriate edits to try and garner more attention from your audience and vice versa, my audience to yours. So, and don't forget, people hate going live, but going live is like one of the easiest things that you can do as a collaboration with someone if they really don't have the time to devote to getting together with you for an hour to shoot some content, you know, for example, at a house. Not everybody's going to have the time to do that. But you can send your listing, for example, ahead of time, get on like a 30-minute chat, talk to them about the intricacies of the listing, allow them to take notes and say, let's go live. And like, you can ask questions about how I could create the space better and really engage the audience in asking more questions on, you know, making interior design affordable and have someone like her you know, on a live where it becomes more of a Q&A, not a script that you're reading that is, you know, robotic and boring, but like really a candid conversation about, you know, luxury real estate, using your listing as an example and the creator or influencer that you're tapping into for that live chiming in with their knowledge, their organic support, and their audience's questions, because these are ways for you guys to create not just attention to your profile and to your business, but you're aligning yourself with people that their followers and their organic people that live for them will then be like, God, you know what? That was a really cool conversation. They even chimed in and answered some of my questions. Like, I'm going to follow this person. And then who do you think they think of when they have to list their house? Like, they followed you off of an Instagram live because you were connected to someone who they absolutely are a devotee of. You then, by virtue of being aligned with them, become you get another devoted follower. So, you know, in this whole space, I think it's really important to manage like expectations and, you know, setting clear ones. I think not only with, you know, the influencer or the real estate agent or the client that you might be selling on this idea, you want to make sure that you're talking about the content types. You want to make sure you're talking about deadlines. You want to make sure you're talking about promotion and if you're doing any sort of ad spend. And most importantly, set expectations on engagement levels. At this point, I have a pretty clear indicator on what really tips the scale on my reels and what does really well in terms of like attracting outside followers. Lately, I would say in the last month, most of my Instagram reels have attracted 40% non-followers. Most of my reels prior to that were 90% my followers communicating, commenting, watching. I'm now reaching a whole new audience of non-followers. So I want to continue to look at that engagement and look at the people that like, what kind of content am I doing that made Instagram take me to a non-follower, and that follower or that non-follower is watching my content, because I need to keep doing that. I would say in terms of other expectations and, you know, the professionalism of it all, make sure you're staying true to your brand. I think it's incredibly important that you might have opportunities galore to, you know, do a charcuterie board company. Like, does that align with your brand? Are you putting charcuterie at your listings? I don't know. I mean, maybe you are, but just, it can't just be a left field moment. It's important to take into consideration that not everyone you follow or are intrigued by, even if they have 10 million followers, if they do not align with your brand, Instagram recognizes this. They're going to recognize that their following is not really interested in your content, which means your collaboration will fall flat. So pay attention to that. And then the only other thing I would say is, I've done quite a few short-term collaborations, and I've done longer-term collaborations. The short-term ones for me, so that we can delineate between the two, is making sure you're not 100% positive if this particular brand or even real estate agent or content creator is really truly going to have the following that's going to resonate with a particular listing that you have. You love them, you want to work with them, they have a huge following, maybe you get some followers out of it, but it doesn't necessarily align with your personal brand. That would be someone that I would do a short-term collab with to test the market. Obvious opportunity for longer-term collabs. You will have to deliver more in terms of your content. You might have to work harder to get a recognizable brand to want to collab with you. And that might mean a bigger commitment. But arguably, if you're really committed to what your personal brand is, as am I know immediately who I want to collab with long-term, where I want to have an ambassadorship. And for me, it's always going to surround the real estate space. And then the one-off collabs I do that are fun for me are still organic to me, but they don't necessarily serve the real estate piece, i.e. I do a lot of fitness stuff because it's a passion of mine. So collabing with P-Volve for me is fun for me. It doesn't necessarily serve my audience. So just be thinking about, you know, the commitments that you're making to the real estate agents that are potentially your partners, how it serves your clients, and also the commitment level of a longer term collaboration. Because if you can get some of these brands that really align with your brand personally to a 1-year contract, then you're really making, not only making money, but they're going to see more value in you because you'll have a longer time to sort of prove your worth as it relates to that brand versus a one-off post. So that said, it's 1 o'clock. I want to start opening it up for the chat. I haven't been looking at these. Okay, a lot of hi, Tracy. Glad to be here. Hey, everybody. I like your glasses. Josh Flag cracks me up. Okay, let's see. Scott is saying, where do you find the contact info of the marketing person at the, most of them are on their website. You know, Ruggable might be a reach, but these companies all have CMOs, chief marketing officers. Typically, if you go to their websites, you can reach out to them. You can also utilize social media to reach out to them and be consistent with it. Again, I think it depends on your following. It's not always going to be an easy grab. You might not hear back from them, but be persistent and start doing organic content on their behalf because you're allowed to, and tag them and then remind them how well that went. For example, because I have the Sephora sheets and it's something that I talked about, you know, I was able to tap into that a lot easier. Someone else, Michael asked, do I know of any brokerages that help their agents out with getting brand deals? No, I don't. um, that's not a broker's focus. And, and they don't want to tap into the social media space for their agents because that is something that they would probably have to start providing for everybody. So I don't know any brokerages that do it. I don't think they're going to be helpful or advantageous. So I think it's really up to you to sort of get in there and start working every angle you can and start creating personal relationships where you build a rapport with these companies, you build a rapport with, the CMO of that company, and you go from there. Craig wants to know, how do you ensure that partnerships with luxury brands feel organic and not overly promotional? That's a really good question. I would say I hate being scripted. I cannot tell you how many times I have walked into a listing, and to just make my life easier, my marketing director has set me up for success by outlining everything we're going to hit. We're going to do 4 videos. I'm going to get you out of here, Tracy, in an hour. And here's what it's going to look like. Video 1, video 2, video 3. I hate it. And I hate it because if I have to look at a script on the fly, look like I'm reading. I'm not organic. I'm not showing my personality. And I'm talking in like code, which no one resonates with on social media. So as far as, partnerships with brands are concerned, you got to know the brand. You got to be able to speak organically about it. You got to know their touch points. Like if there's 4 key, words that are part of their demographic, you got to know what those keywords are and make sure you hit those keywords. Typically, if I collaborate with a brand, they'll give me a 1 sheet and I will go over that 1 sheet and sort of memorize, even though for the most part, I know it already, but they have certain key points that they're going to want to hit. I'll make sure to kind of make that a part of my dialogue in a much more organic way, because then it feels like a conversation. Then it feels organic. And then it doesn't feel like a bad digital ad that you see pop up on your feed that is totally irrelevant and isn't going to get, the attraction that you're looking for. Nicola is asking, what's the best way to maintain long-term relationships with other realtors after an initial collaboration? Well, you better hope that the collaboration went well, because that's the best way to maintain it. But for me, I am always out talking to real estate agents. I can't tell you, if I'm in an airport or if I'm in a new market, a real estate agent will come up to me. Someone came up to me at my office the other day and was from a totally different market and happened to be visiting and made an intro. I immediately gave her my cell phone number and shot her a text right back and said, looking forward to a time to connect. She just wants to be a referral agent with me. You have to be consistently doing this. This isn't something that you can do on the fly just because you're having a collaboration. You want people to want to engage with you, which means you have to make the effort to engage with them and be friendly and be professional. We don't need to take up an hour of their time. Like when someone says they want to meet me for coffee, I'm like, I don't know on what planet you think I have time to like sit down and like chit chat. I do not have time for that. But I definitely have time to touch you once a day, or, not touch, but like digitally touch. And, connect with you on some level, whether it's showing up at, their open house, saying, hi, killer listing, want me to take some content for you. Like, these are different ways to continue to engage real estate agents. And just don't forget, real estate agents outside of your market. I cannot tell you how well I have done in Dallas and Austin, Texas, and garnered a brand new following because of the nature of me reaching out to agents who never expected to hear from me in those markets. And because of that, I now reach out to agents in other markets where I feel Dallas, for example, has a lot of people coming from New York and Florida and Colorado. So I make sure that I am consistently tapping and touching and talking to agents in those markets and just saying, Dallas and Austin are on fire. If you need anything, a lot of our stuff is off market. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you want to collab on one of these listings, let's talk about it. because I'd love to have you post our Westlake listing for 20 million. That's exciting for them too. Don't forget, like, they get to post a property that's outside of their market and do a collaboration with you. That's a great way for them to promote themselves. So, you know, it's a little bit of like, I'm going to share with you, but you also can share with me. And then both of you have a win from that. Oh, okay. So Michael was asking, any tips on finding agents in the other markets? I don't know if you have real estate agents that follow you in other markets, but I always say, if you don't, start with your brokerage. If you like your brokerage, start there and say, like, who are the people working in your wheelhouse? If you're working in the $5 to $10 million wheelhouse, find out from your manager to be connected with the manager of that office and say, who's doing the 5 to 10 here? I want to connect with them. I want to collab with them. I think it's a great way for us to start a referral business. The broker loves it because they want to keep that business in-house, and you're creating a relationship within your brokerage. If you can't be within your brokerage, then you got to do your diligence. Jump on Zillow, for crying out loud, and who is listing in your space in Palm Beach, for example, or in Miami. You know, who's listing 10 and $20 million houses? Reach out to all of them, create a dialogue. When I landed at Compass, I was reached out to by no less than 200 different agents from around the country saying, let's do business. So excited to have you aboard. I emailed every single one of them back, every single one. Steve wants to know, what's the best way to get a rock star like, say, Tracy Duder to do a collab with me? You're cute. I like that sense of humor, Steve. By doing that, right? Like, by being engaging, by being charming, by, you know, obviously sending your listing, but saying, look, I really think that I have a listing that's going to appeal to a buyer profile that comes out of Colorado. And I'd love to talk about potentially collabing on a post and having a cross-marketing promotion for my listing here in Dallas or Austin. Like, that's really, you know, a great way to do that. And you can send them, you could say, look, you know, I want you to post my property, Tracy. Here it is. Now, Steve, if you're going to ask me to promote a property for you, it has to resonate with my brand, right? So be mindful of that, guys. When you want to collaborate with someone, it has to be thoughtful for their brand, not just yours. I get people all the time that are like, will you post my property in Dubai? And I'm like, what do you want? Why? How does that serve me? It serves you, but it needs to serve both parties. So just be thoughtful about who you're reaching out to have a collab. Does your property align with their brand? Things of that nature. How do you initiate a co-listing partnership without stepping on another agent's toes? That's a great question, Quentin. Are we both up for the listing, Quentin? Or is this something where maybe you're competing against someone, you both kind of have a shot and you're unsure about who's going to get it? I can't tell you how many times I've been in that position with like Flag or Altman or any other like great agent, like a Drew Fenton, for example. I just pick up the phone and call him, and he'll call me and he'll say, I know you have a relationship and you know, I think you went out on the listing. I did too. Do you want to just do it together? I believe in co-listing. I always have. The power of two, particularly from different brokerages, particularly when you have a difficult client, is the best case scenario for everybody. Because while you might appeal to the client on certain days, your co-listing agent can appeal to them when you don't. And there's no better way, if you have the ability to work with another agent on a listing, to be successful. Because oftentimes when it's just you on that listing, guess who gets the blame when it doesn't sell? You do. And then they fire you and then they hire the other person. So I don't think you're really stepping on toes unless you're asking someone to join the listing that they already have. I don't know if I see the value in that unless they're coming to you. Lexi wants to know, what type of content performs best when collaborating with influencer content creators? I mean, it really depends on your brand, Lexi. For example, with me, I've found that anything to do with travel, video, me organically enjoying myself. Hi, Miriam. Me enjoying myself, or, you know, talking about something I'm passionate about, whether it's a restaurant, a hotel, an experience. Those are things that make it very easy. Again, organic, organic, organic. That's the stuff that works. People want to see you mess up. They want to see you have a conversation with someone else and be laughing and not look like it's a staged performance. It just doesn't land. No one is interested in that. So I would say the content needs to be A, collaborative, B, organic, and C, incorporate video, because video is a lot easier to, that video resonates with people more than a still photo for obvious reasons. Peter says, I have boots on the ground in Whistler. If you have any referrals for ski mountain homes in Canada, currently there is a foreign buyer's ban in Metro Vancouver. I will keep Whistler in mind, Peter. Way to go there. I'd love to connect with you on the side. My makeup artist goes to Whistler all the time and was going to be taking me there. And now she's pregnant, so she's not traveling. But I've heard incredible things, and have some friends in Canada as well. So, and I have a following, a Canadian following as well. So there might be an opportunity for collab there. There you go. Look at us collabing already. Marcos says, if I own a restaurant in Laguna Beach and Dana Point, is there a creative way I can promote my realtor business through my restaurants? Any ideas? I was going to do a monthly mixer with the board of realtors. I'm already bored, Marcos. I'm already bored with the board of realtors. People that are on boards typically are not interested in having fun or being organic. However, if you have these two great restaurants in two areas like Laguna and Dana Point, which one of my clients does, and I actually did a collaboration with him at his Mexican restaurant. I think, you know, going and having a chat about real estate while, I don't know, you know, again, for my client, he owned a Mexican restaurant. He had just opened it up. So we went to his restaurant, we had some chips and guac, and we had a chat with like one of his one-off brand tequilas that was super special, and we talked. At another listing video that I did, I incorporated his food from his restaurant into the listing. Now, granted, if you're trying to promote your properties and your business in your restaurants, you know, that can get a little tricky. I mean, obviously you don't want to look like a bus, you know, stop, you know, realtor. I would say be careful about putting too much print material, you know, in the bathrooms and at the front. I think it's kind of a fine line. But if you want, I can think about that a little bit. We could talk offline. I think it's more about being able to have you in the restaurant as an investor. You want it to look like that's not your main business. Real estate is your main business because you're so successful in real estate. You happen to have two restaurants. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to be talking to patrons at the restaurant about your business and more organically having that conversation. That's just a thought off the top of my head. I think that's all the questions I have. I know I had a couple more questions that had come ahead of time. Oh, someone asked ahead of time, what makes a good collaboration partner? I think when you guys are on equal playing fields, you can ask a little bit more intrinsic questions, like what is their market reach? Ask for their insights page for the last 3 months so you can see like what kind of traction they're getting on different kinds of posts, so that you can know what organically is working for them, and then share your insights with the potential collaborator. And then that way the two of you can come together, and this particular influencer might say, okay, this is what is like really tracking well for me right now. And you can say, well, this is tracking well for me right now. How do we incorporate both to get maximum exposure for both of us? So that's something I think when you are thinking about collabing, kind of looking at the intel that Instagram and even TikTok offers you and being able to say, okay, this is what's working for both of us. How do we figure out a way to make this organically work in some video content or a tour or a walkthrough or a conversation, whatever it's going to be. So again, I think that's really the last question. Oh, wait, no, we have one more question. Kathy said, I just changed firms and I'm also moving to Charlotte, North Carolina market after 15 years in upstate South Carolina. Any tips to making genuine connections in a new market like your successful jump to Texas? Yes, such a good question, Kathy. I just moved brokerages too on the 7th of January, and it was a big move for me after being somewhere for 10 years. And I moved both in California and Texas from Douglas Elliman to Compass. It is no small undertaking, and a new market is even more difficult. So get ready to buckle down and work your tail off. I would say the most important factor, and I would start doing it now, is start creating relationships with agents. Ask questions. You know, obviously you're a successful real estate agent in your own market. You're coming to a new market. Don't have an ego ever, no matter how much you're selling. Be the newbie on the block. Accept that position. I did. I went to Texas. I met with anybody and everybody that would talk to me. I was like, can I buy you coffee? Can I buy you lunch? Can I take you out for a margarita? Can we chat on the phone? Talk to me. Show me this listing. Tell me what you think, you know, Dallas is all about, what you think Austin is all about, what separates the two. I mean, you name it. I went into both of those new markets, which are very different, and I made sure that I engaged the brokerage community, because that is the only way you're going to create lasting relationships in a new market, which will then create, hopefully, some new clients. Quentin wants to know how I handle commission splits and agreements when collaborating with another agent. Is that an agent on my team or is that a co-list, Quentin? You know, my team it's all contract. Typically we stick to the contract. Occasionally, dependent on a specific listing, at the end of that listing, when we're, you know, a week out from closing escrow, I'll reevaluate that split. And if I think the agent worked their tail off or deserves a little extra, or rather a little less, I will have that conversation with my CEO and we'll deliver that message. When it comes to co-listing properties with other agents, it's typically 50-50. If that other agent, the client is their sphere of influence, then sometimes I might give them 60-40, where I take 40, they take 60. But if you want me to be, and the client more importantly wants me to be a part of the listing, this isn't a referral, you know? A referral is typically, for me, between 20 and 30%, most likely 25. And so if I'm going to actually participate in the listing, I need to be at a minimum of 40. And if it's my client, then I'll take 60 and they'll take 40. Why did I decide to make the move? I've talked about this a little bit. I'm not sure it really has relevance to our discussion today, but I'll answer it anyway. I saw a lot of business heading to Texas, a lot of my network during COVID. There was a lot of people that wanted more space. There was a lot of people that were looking to get out of California because the restrictions were really great, and Texas's restrictions during COVID were not. And I think I saw about 50 million in my between friends and my network in business head to Dallas and Austin. And I was like, I've got to get licensed there. I love Texas. My friends grew up in Dallas, Fort Worth, that I went to college with. I visited quite a bit. And I started thinking to myself, if I was going to expand into a new market, where would I want to go? And it became a very quick answer. It turns out to be the right one because we're doing a lot of business there in 2 short years. So a lot of work, but it's been worth it in my opinion. So I think that's it. I want to thank you guys all for like staying active in the conversation. Like we had a lot of participants today. I love when you guys ask questions that I be able to address them all like more specifically in the things that you're experiencing, not just listening to me ramble on hour after hour. So again, as far as your social media goes, feel free to DM me guys anytime. And I hope you guys all have an amazing week and I'll see you soon.